While people are sitting down, I'll just make another news announcement that for those of you who were not at the Ocean Dialogues Day, which was a couple days ago at the Rio Centro, the UN took a vote of the public on the top 10 issues for the ocean. And over 1 million people around the world voted. And of all of the topics, of the 10 topics that were important, including acidification, overfishing, other types of pollution, plastic pollution was the #1 vote from over 1 million people. So here we are today. We are the solution providers for this issue in many, many ways. I'd like to start on this next panel, which is a great panel, and the moderator is Daniella Russo, the co-founder and executive director of the Plastic Pollution Coalition. She's a business leader and an entrepreneur, and she believes that every progressive society is fueled by the power of informed and engaged people. She believes that every person carries the responsibility for the future of our planet, and that change is possible only if we work together. Daniella has worked on the issue of plastic pollution for several years. She launched and ran the award-winning 360 campaign, Think Beyond Plastics, and co-founded the Plastic Pollution Coalition. So with that, Daniella, welcome to the stage. Welcome to Plasticity.
Thank you, Doug, and thank you for having me here. I also have spent about 20 years in Silicon Valley. And I like to think that business and nonprofit and people can work together towards a common goal. So I look forward to advancing this notion today and in the panel you're about to hear. The first thing I'd like to do is entertain you a little bit. You just had lunch, so can we show the little film, please?
Every year, thousands of tons of plastic ends up in our oceans. Plastic doesn't biodegrade in the sea. Over time, it breaks up into tiny particles. Like sponges, these attract pollutants from the surrounding waters, accumulating a highly toxic chemical load before they contaminate the marine food chain. Not so tempting after all. Help turn the tide.
And if you would please start my presentation now. Plastic pollution is no laughing matter. And while this is a light-hearted way of looking at the problem is quite serious indeed. So let's look into why we actually care about this panel and why are we looking into front-end solutions to plastic pollution. In the last, since the end of the Second World War, our usage and consumption of plastic has increased exponentially, not just gradually, exponentially. And depending on whose statistic you look at, you basically would see that in the last 10 years alone, we've produced and consumed more plastic than in any previous decade. And with this kind of consumption come a lot of really unpleasant side effects. So let's look into what this brought us. Beaches that are littered with plastic all around the world. We're not talking about the beaches in Brazil or in at Rio after a big event. They're very beautiful right now, but our friends here in Rio tell us what they look like after there's been a massive public event. These are beaches in the Caribbean, in Hawaii, in Puerto Rico. They can be anywhere in the world. The iconic albatross bird that has been in every presentation. And you know what? It's not because we all use the same photo. It's because we've all arrived at this poignant image and reminder of what plastic pollution does to us if plastic is used in a way that's not intended for. You have a material that's intended to last forever, and you make disposable plastic out of it, it ends up in the middle of nowhere. And the albatross bird is the bird that lives the furthest away from people, as far away as imaginably possible. You know what? It's not just about the ocean. Camels in the desert in the United Arab Emirates are dying with their stomachs full of plastic. And so are cows, and so are other animals. This is the result of our humanitarian action in Haiti. Mountains and mountains of styrofoam containers. On the bottom there is the country where I was born, Bulgaria, which I was glad to find out has the same recycling rate as the United States in terms of plastic. But you know what? I left there 25 years ago. This did not exist. This was a beautiful dam where we used to go fish. Now it's polluted with plastic bottles and bags. So why am I showing you this? Because I think it's very important as you think about business opportunities to understand that it's not just the market that motivates our move towards front-end solutions. That when you have a consumption go out of control over a material that's intended to last forever, you really need to start thinking very carefully about not just recycling, but some solutions that prevent this consumption to go into our useful life, into our society, into our oceans, into our rivers. Once it's out there, it's very, very hard. And I believe in my heart of hearts that we can never capture every bottle, I don't care if it's PET or anything, ever made. It's just not possible. Something that nobody ever mentioned was the health impacts of plastic products. And it is now very well known and documented, and there is a lot of research that talks about the adverse health impacts of chemicals in plastics. The more we use these materials in a way they were not intended to be used, in a way that they come in contact with our food and drink, the more we get to find out connections with various sorts of cancer, reproductive diseases, diabetes, and very recently autism. And what I'm finding out as I travel around the world and talk to various communities is you can engage people with a discussion about environmental damage. And they usually respond. Nobody wants to see dead birds and trash communities. But what people very often don't know is that these containers have dramatic repercussions for the generations to come. Yes, people won't die of it right now, but we're looking at societies with degenerative disorders that are only going to manifest themselves in probably 1 or 2 generations. While nobody dies of it, it affects the quality of life for the generations to come, for our children. Essentially, plastic is a material with no end-of-life plan. And I'm not saying this lightly. I'm saying this because I've been working on this issue for many, many years now, as many of you have. And what we're observing is that we need to work very hard on every layer of society to make sure that the end-of-life plan includes a complete life cycle. A life cycle analysis, for those of you who are business people here, is not just an analysis of how much it costs to make a plastic bottle or a bag or a plastic product. It really needs to take into consideration the complete cost of this product to society, the cleanup, the countless hours of beach cleanups and street cleanups and people collecting. And this doesn't go into the cost of any plastic bottle or any plastic disposable product. And I don't want to pick on bottles necessarily, but they are so obvious. I mean, if you really look into the cost of every disposable plastic product you make, you will find out that it's not going to cost $2 or $3 to buy a bottle. It will cost $10, $15, and it will become cost prohibitive. So what does this mean? I'm not anti-plastic. None of us who are here in this room are anti-plastic. This is a reaction of a society that's so fed up with the current problem that they don't know what else to do. And so our job here in this room is to understand what the business leaders are doing, what the innovators are doing, how we can work together to prevent this problem from happening in the first place, and where the innovation is possible. I don't know that it's necessary for all of you to be environmentalists in this room. For me, it's great enough if you want to make money and invest in a segment that's about to explode. I firmly believe this. And if you do this, I can promise you, all of us who work on the public, who work understanding and educating the public on the dangers of plastic, we will bring you a great target audience. We will bring you the customers. So here is what I want us to do, and here is what my organization works on and all of us in this movement. We truly, really need to rethink our relationship with plastic. Our current love affair needs to move into a relationship of understanding of each other's issues, problems, what we can expect of plastic, and what is unreasonable to expect. So in the absence of a way to collect every single bag or every single bottle ever made, what we advise the 4 million people who we reach through our work is to say no to disposable plastic. And until somebody comes and tells me that they figured out a way to collect it all, we will continue to say so. The second one is we encourage organizations, businesses, individuals, everyone to reduce their overall plastic footprint, just use less. We need to create new materials, new packaging, and new design. And that is a tall order. And by this I mean we need to look into bioplastics. We need to look into a new generation of bioplastics that uses non-toxic additives so that they don't leach into the food and drink they contain. We need to look into bioplastics that are truly compostable and truly biodegradable. And you will hear today presentations that I hope inspire you and show you that there are opportunities to do that. We need to look into ways to package our product differently. And I'm very excited to have Jeff Foster here on the panel who will talk about this. His company does some amazing things in terms of packaging. And we need new design, new product design, new infrastructure. We need to think differently about our relationship with plastic. Thirdly, we need the legislative support of policymakers, and we need them to support businesses and entrepreneurs like these here and like the rest of you with long-term economic incentives. So if you decide to go after a market that is just in a beginning and that brings so much value to society, then you need to create incentives. You need to have a long-term competitive advantage by doing something good for the planet. And this right now does not exist, or again, it's a very nascent development. So we look forward to working with NRDC, with Layla, and many other organizations, not just on the stick, which is the extended producer responsibility, but creating the carrot, which is making it enticing for you, making it worth your while. And I'm talking about a global effort. I'm not talking just about an effort in the United States. And last but not least, we need an international collaboration. And this is why we set out to create the Plastic Pollution Coalition. We have projects, members on every continent in most of the countries in the world. And we believe that plastic pollution is an international problem. The relationships that we need to create will affect the world to come. And we really need to work together in making that happen, all of us. So, with no further ado, I just wanted to end up on a slightly more pensive note and say this. How we choose to deal with plastic at this point of our society really will show what kind of people we are. Are we the people who will protect the planet and the generations in the years to come? Or are we going to yield to greed and consumerism and, forget that the color green is, as Vandana Shiva said, not the color of money, but the color of sustainability. And I encourage us all to think about this.